everyone, and welcome to this episode of Soul Seeds, where Carleigh is my guest expert for today. So, hi, Carleigh. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Suzanne. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And Carleigh is, by the way, a holistic mental wellness coach. And the topic we're going to discuss is why medication alone does not lead to healing. Wait, sorry, I see my makeup being a bit weird. Oh, well, it happens. So sorry, but why medication alone does not lead to healing. So I would love to know, like, medication is usually seen as like a start to healing, or like almost like a gateway to start this healing process. So what else is needed to heal?
Yeah, so healing, in my opinion, really needs to be looked at as a holistic picture of a person or a situation or whatever we're talking about. But in this case, we're talking about mental health, right?
Right.
So using medication can be helpful at first, like you said, especially if you're genuinely in a place of crisis and
Mhm.
you don't know what else to do, and the pills are going to help you to feel better, to continue living your life, then that is absolutely serving you. But if you're only taking medication and you're not changing any other aspect
Mhm.
of your life, you're not all of a sudden going to feel joyful and fulfilled and healthy. There's
Mhm.
still all these other aspects of our well-being that we need to be looking at. And I think that's something that often gets missed when someone either receives a diagnosis or, is experiencing symptoms, and the doctor is really quick to write a prescription, whether it's
Mhm.
antidepressants or whatever kind of mental health managing medication. And they don't actually talk about the importance of doing all these other things for your mental health, like
Mhm.
checking in with your sleep schedule and getting enough exercise, spending time outside, looking at your gut health, and all of these other factors that are related to our mental health. So even when you're taking the medication, you're not all of a sudden going to have a completely changed
Mhm.
lifestyle. And it
It's not a
still
magic pill.
takes,
Yeah.
it's not a magic pill.
Mhm.
No, exactly. And it's still going to take dedication and daily
Mhm.
practices to truly find healing.
Right. And with certain conditions and disorders, of course, medication isn't really needed. So do you think that is true, or do you think we can even, like, the so-called needed disorders, or can they be healed as well without medication?
Well, speaking from personal
Mhm.
experience, I have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder,
Mhm.
and I don't take any medication for my mental health. So that is one of the diagnoses that the general public and the medical association agrees that the gold standard is to take
Mhm.
psychiatric medication.
Right.
And I'm living proof that it is not necessary,
Mm.
because I've never needed the medication, and I haven't had an episode since my diagnosis because I've learned how to truly heal. And that doesn't mean that I just, do whatever I want all day and get to feel totally fine. It means that I have a really set routine of practices in place that I know are good for my mind. And
Mhm.
because I prioritize my well-being and my mental health, I uphold these practices every day, and I do get to lead a life that is fulfilling, and I get to feel joyful and have beautiful relationships and
Mhm.
spend time doing things that really fuel me. And it does mean, I prioritize my sleep every night. I don't go to the
Mhm.
bar on a Friday night and stay up until 2 a.m. and then sleep the next day away, because I know that's not going to feel good for me the next day or 2 days after that. So I'm always making decisions based on how I want to feel tomorrow. But
Right.
because I do that, I actually don't need the medication for a disorder that's considered to be pretty severe, and it
Mhm.
doesn't really affect my life on a daily basis.
Yeah, because when you say bipolar disorder, you think, oh, I think it's almost necessary to have medication to live sort of like a normal life. But like you say, you're the living
Right.
proof that that is not necessary. So I think that the essence is to really learn about your, well, like you said, your gut health, and how you react or respond to certain things, how your body reacts to certain things. So learn to know about yourself, like, inside out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not the only one. While I do help clients mainly to overcome anxiety and depression without medication, very recently, a couple of weekends ago, I actually met someone else who has also healed from bipolar without medication. And he said, I'm the first person he's met who's also done that. So it was very cool to have this meeting and be like, we're not alone. Other people have done this, and it is so achievable. It is really possible. It's not necessarily easy. It takes, daily dedicated practice, but it is so possible and so worth it.
And how can we almost unlock that inner healer within us?
I like to say that the first step towards truly healing your mind is actually cultivating a really deep self-love and a strong relationship with yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
find that so often when it comes to whether it's anxiety or depression or another form of mental health that we're struggling with, there's this disconnection between, who we are and who we want to be. And there's this lack of self-love, this lack of feeling of worthiness. And that lack really feeds the ruminating thoughts and really feeds the low energy and the low mood and our minds being so mean to us, which is also tied in with anxiety and depression and these experiences. And when we start to really cultivate a strong relationship to ourselves and decide, I love myself and I am worthy of healing because I deserve to feel my best, then it becomes so much easier to find the motivation to
Mm-hmm.
do the thing that might not be comfortable, like wake up in the morning and get some proper exercise in,
Mm-hmm.
but you are going to do it anyways because you know it's going to make you feel better. So the first step really is to develop a self-love practice and start to deepen your relationship to the most important person in your life, which is you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. For most people, I think that tends to be a long journey because we are so used to handing out our love freely to others, but not to ourselves. And like you said,
Mhm.
I always say okay, you're the one person you spend all of your life with. So why aren't you
Yeah,
treating
exactly.
yourself like your best friend? So yeah, I
Exactly. And that's
totally
ultimately
agree.
where it has to begin. Yeah. Mm.
Exactly. And also those people that are already on medication and who would love to stop, what would you advise them?
Mhm. So I would advise them to continue on your healing journey even while you're on the medication. So just because
Mhm.
you're taking any sort of pill, it doesn't mean that you need to rely on that fully as your only means of managing your mental health. You can still be bringing in practices that are going to enhance your well-being, learning about what feels good in your body, bringing in the discipline to exercise and prioritize your sleep and eat well, eat things that are going to nourish you, and cultivate beautiful relationships and have your daily practices.
Mhm.
Bringing these things in are still going to help heal your mind even while you're using medication. And then if your goal is to start to wean down, working with your doctor, your psychiatrist, whoever needs to be involved, you can start to do that. And as you bring in more of these healing practices, you'll be able to find a stability in your mind even without the medication.
Mm. Yeah, because I also would advise if you're on medication, definitely talk to your doctor about it. Don't just stop it.
Yeah,
Just maybe
no.
take a smaller dosage or always talk to your doctor about it. And also, like you said, when you take medication, it doesn't mean you stop your own healing journey. You can always do the self-love practices, self-care practices, and techniques that make you feel happier and healthier. That always benefits, right?
100%. And it's so empowering to start to take your mental health and your health in general into
Mhm.
your own hands and put yourself back in the driver's seat. And even if you're using medication, you still have so much power over your own mind when you start
Mhm.
to really implement practices and learn about true healing, learn about yourself and what
Mhm.
actually feels good in your body and what's going to serve you tomorrow. You can still be doing that whether you're on medication or not. And it's so empowering to know that you have that option.
Yeah, because why wouldn't it be so important, right? To learn about yourself and what can trigger you or what can cause anxiety for you or what can cause gut pain or so you always benefit from learning more about yourself and your health.
100%.
Well, thank you so much, Carleigh. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.